What's going on, guys? It's Kennedy, aka Chi-Town, back here again. We're going to do the second episode of the gallery tour. I know how long the one yesterday ran. Um, don't need it to run that long again. I'd like to stay around that 15-20 minute mark, but we had to explain the Hall of Fame too, so there was a reason for that. But we're gonna get you guys a little bit familiar with or familiarized with the MLS and Challenger Gallery today. Being an American, I obviously am kind of hardcore into the MLS, given that it's all we really have to follow for our own personal league. And I live about an hour and a half from the Fire Stadium, so I try to go when I can. Um, so without further ado, let's just kind of get into it. We'll go player by player here, like we did for the last video, but hopefully in a more abbreviated fashion. First up, we got Kalina, the Charlotte goalkeeper. I think they'll be super solid at the back this coming year, as long as they can keep Malanda. But it sounds like they're in play for Almiron, so um, should really improve them. I think they just brought in Pep Biel on a permanent, so or they loaned him for another year. But they're a really solid young team. I think Ream will slide inside. He's a great veteran presence for them. So they were the best defense last year. I anticipate them or Miami, depending on how they improve, being the best defense this year. McCarthy fits into a 3% LAFC stack. Granted, he moved down to the Galaxy. They don't keep a ton of clean sheets, but MLS is just so wonky with keepers keeping clean sheets, and the matchup on paper is never as good as it actually is in the game, just because the MLS is so open and there are just so many goals. But he's a good option to have nonetheless. He is a quality keeper. I mean, he just won the MLS Cup with the Galaxy, so like I said, a really good option to have nonetheless. Then we have Burki from St. Louis. I think they'll be a really good sleeper team this year. I think I have 2% collection. Still need to get Hartel for the midfield from that collection, but I mean you're looking really solid if you have like Burki. They don't really have a great defender on the roster right now, at least in terms of L5, L15. But Burki, insert defender from another team, and Hartel, Tuchert, and then insert player from another team. So like you'll find with a lot of these MLS teams, the easiest way is to just pick two or three and just kind of mix and match in terms of stacks. I mean, there's maybe one good MLS 5-man stack. It's just really tough to get a 5-man because then you have to get defender and either two mids or two forwards, and just a lot of teams don't have that kind of depth with the roster restrictions. So my suggestion would be, maybe if you like Charlie, if you like St. Louis, and maybe Columbus or an LAFC or a Galaxy, um, pick two or three of those, and then just kind of get the pieces that you want and mix and match. That's my suggestion for success. Then you have Hagen, and we'll do Schulte in the same breath. Um, have Schulte in what will be a 5% Columbus stack, level 20 gallery legend. He's always going to be here. And then brought Hagen in. He isn't in this year's Columbus collection, so to get the backup, I had to go to this past year, which I think I have 2%. Yeah, just through buying some cheapies, and Chambos is in this year's too, so just kind of made sense to bring that Columbus piece at 2% as well. Then we have Lloris. I have a mini LAFC stack, so I kind of had to get the goalkeeper too. Just MLS is kind of weird with midweeks, so you at least want the goalkeeper of the stack that you're playing with, even if it's just maybe a forward and a midfielder with some depth pieces. It just makes sense if LAFC is kind of playing a midweek, or I know CONCACAF Champions Cup happens a lot, so those are kind of isolated midweek. So it makes sense to at least be able to run out a five of the team that you're collecting or stacking or whatnot. Um, Two Evan Bushes, just depth pieces, and then Brady Scott. I'm pretty sure he's in the NWSL now, which is the um, second division for MLS. So again, he's just a collection piece. If we'll move on to defender here, defender is by far the toughest position for MLS to cover, especially if Wagner leaves. There's like maybe three or four guys that are truly viable on a week to week basis. That is, I mean, there will be guys that if you pick it right can smash, but not a lot of reliable options. And there are a few that this gallery is missing big time. So Farsi, more of a collection piece, can score really well, but he's linked with Saint Etienne in France. Uh, Quinton, more of a depth piece, but I know he was getting a little bit of game time for RSL this past year. I'm gonna count Amundsen and Chiberko as one, only because it's just Nancy rotates center backs so often. Chiberko was mainly the starter. Then it was Amundsen. Then it was back to Chiberko. Then it was back to Amundsen. Then Chiberko finished the season. So you just kind of have to get the rotation right. And these, I'll call them one. They're probably the best defender scorer for Columbus, and they're one of the better MLS defender scorers overall. So to me, just kind of makes sense to grab both of them and then just kind of feel it out. Sands a depth piece, but he actually peaked a couple times for the Revs after he moved there. I think Ream will score pretty well this coming season. I think he'll be a steady like 55 to 65 guy. Won't really peak. I think he slides inside the center back. They had him playing left back, so he was kind of getting beat for pace a lot along the wings, and he was losing a lot of duels. So naturally, to me, slides into center back. He becomes a lot better. I think Gaines is supposed to get a bit of time for Nashville this coming year, but again, just a depth piece. Hollingshead lost his spot towards the end of the year, really, but when he's in there, he's kind of peaky. He can really move forward and score a goal. Aaron Long, more of like a 50 to 55 type player, just a solid center back, but just not really SO5 viable. Same goes with Valencia. He's a decent little wing back, but he just doesn't get too involved in the attack. So you're really hoping for like a double double and a couple tackles, a couple duels won. Um, More of like a good game for him is like a 70, which again can go for a lot of these MLS defenders. We got Sands here again, just a dollar. He rounds out the 2%, 24, 25 or 23, 24 Columbus stack. All both these guys here, Duenas and Cuevas are collection. Ahmed is kind of viable. He was just really in and out for Vancouver. He has the peaky capability, but just doesn't happen too often. He's one that I think is worth having because he's just a couple bucks now. So I think it's just worth it to have him and in a smasher lineup or a smasher matchup you can play him. But he really is kind of a wild card. Morera's just won MLS Defender of the Year, but just not really SO5 viable. Cirillo plays a holding midfield role, so he gets that clean sheet bonus, but again, just doesn't really score highly enough for me to consider him. Um, Camacho's pants, he just got dressed down at the end of the year. All these guys on here really just collection fodder. So we'll move on to midfield. Unfortunately, we have Pooj. Um, just sucks that he tore his ACL. Definitely the best midfielder in my gallery in terms of winnings, and probably the best scoring mid in the MLS. I know he won me a podium, where I believe I ended up winning Trubin on top of the cash, obviously. Just sucks. I like supporting the Galaxy. I mean, I kind of support LAFC in the Galaxy. I know it's also it's also related, so it doesn't feel too bad when I do it. But Puig is just by far one of the best players, at least in terms of aesthetics to watch in the MLS. So it just sucks that he's down. Sounds like Bogusz is going to, I believe, Cruz Azul, so that would stink. But I mean, I can still play him in U23. But that definitely hurts. Mihailovic, I think, is going to be a great scorer. He was super peaky this past season when they had good matchups. Not as great on the road because Colorado just isn't that great of a team. But I think he'll be one of the better MLS midfielders. Um, Zawadzki, I thought he'd be the Aiden Morris replacement. I mean, he's in the collection regardless, but he just wasn't really not to the level of Aiden Morris whatsoever. Forsberg, I think, is pretty solid. I think he'll be one of those upper middle tier midfield picks for next year. Just so much possession loss, so I don't think he'll be like 100 or 90 capable, but he'll be like a solid 70 to 80, I think, on a good matchup. Chambos, I think, will be really, really, really solid. Started taking all the sets towards the end of the year when he was starting. He'll play in the attacking triangle with Cucho and Rossi. to start the year probably. So I think he's super cheap, just a great buy. In fact, I might even buy another one. But um, Shambo is definitely one of my picks for next year. Then Nagby is just fodder at this point. Um, Acosta fodder. Brugman could have a decent little year in Nashville. Or remains to be seen how they end up using him, but um, definitely has the talent to be pretty solid. Um, and outside of that, I mean Taylor, if he starts for Miami, um, I'm not saying if he ends up getting a starting spot, more if he can get a random spot start, he could be serviceable. And then I believe Fagundes is out of contract, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. He could certainly be viable if he moves somewhere else. And then moving on to forwards, um, Messi we won, so that's pretty freaking cool. Just knowing who I won him with, and then it's a Miami kid, it's an MLS card, MLS only comp. I just think that's pretty cool. So I'd never had a Messi before either. So the only way I was going to buy a Messi was if I won one. So I think that's pretty cool. I think Peck stays another year, especially with the Puig injury. I mean, he's levels above the league. So had to add him in, plus it fits the collection. I do have 2% on Messi as well. So hope maybe I try to bring that up to 3, but we'll see. We have the Cucho here. Definitely, definitely an overpay, but is what it is. I was going to bring in a Cucho eventually, anyways. Level 18, so he's close to level 20. Hopefully, he stays with the crew. We have Tuchert, who is part of that 2% St. Louis stack. Um, I just think they're going to do pretty well this year, and you can see he did pretty well towards the end of last year. He has a full year to adapt to the league. I think his scores will really improve. Again, hopefully Bouanga doesn't leave. That would really suck if he did. Because we got huge XP on this one. He's a club legend. Um, so just definitely a great forward to have. Plus, I think he's pretty cheap right now with the rumors. Arston definitely has a place now. Pretty nailed starting on that left hand side. He'll start at one of the wing backs this coming year. Plus, he's U23. So definitely one that I would suggest you guys have just because U23 is so weak this summer. So I think he's definitely one that you guys should add in if you're even thinking about playing that. But nonetheless, he's a pretty solid MLS forward option on the cheap side. He was taking a couple sets before Chambos took them all over, um, but there's always that possibility that he takes maybe left sided corners. Then Ramirez, Russell Rowe, Valo Ordaz are really just all kind of depth options or fodder if they get a spot start here or there. I think I'm definitely missing. I'll bring in an Alba for defense. Midfield, I'd like to get a better idea of what ends up happening with Evander. I think with this new MLS internal trade cash for player system, I think he could end up in a Houston or a Dallas or an Austin. So I think I might just bite the bullet and buy an Evander, and if he moves out of the league, he moves out of the league. Um, and then we're looking for a Hartel too for the St. Louis stack, but maybe one more forward. I'm thinking about a Ferreira, but I think forward. I mean, you got 5 super solid guys here, so I don't want to buy so much to the point that I'm not using all the guys that I have. Um, so we'll move on to all right. Back for Challenger. Um, it's going to look a little bit different next year just with no MLS. So I've tried to make my MLS and Challenger galleries independent, anyways. Just because I always kind of thought an MLS only comp was on the way, and I just think it's easier to have two that can run independent, but when you combine them, obviously they only get better. Um, so we'll just start with the goalies here. I crafted Costa off of I think it was a tier 4 plus. So that was really cool. Got it right before the Euros too. So I got Portugal utility, but by far the best challenger keeper in my opinion. Just a matter of time until he goes to a huge club. So we're just waiting on that. And we have Lamans, who I mainly use in U23, but it just kind of depends because I have so many U23 keepers that kind of fit into certain parts of my gallery. Like Bart, I have Carl Hein in the Liga, I have Adebolo in Bundesliga. So I just kind of try to find like the two best every week and put them in U23 to a point that it's not taking away from my other lineups, but it's really just kind of a week to week basis where I'll end up using him. He fits in a 2% stack. We're rats around here, so we have a 3% PSV stack, of course. So we have Benitez, um, definitely an overpay, but I mean it is what it is. You have to have PSV exposure. This was one of the first Trubin's auctions, so again, different time, definitely an overpay, but I think he's been on two podium teams for me, so can't really complain. Definitely the best, one of the better U23 keepers on the platform, if not the best. Um, Again, one of those guys you're probably waiting for a move, and then Kakubo. Um, if I can get collections with multiple starting goalkeepers, I'll do that all day long. So he hasn't been great, but again, he's a starting U23 goalkeeper. And then we have two craft. Well, we have a win and a craft here. I'll sit on U23 keepers for sure. Moving on to defense. Again, we're rats, so we have Buscagli. So that's traded 2 months ago. I had a different year one that just didn't fit into the collection for probably a month, 2 or 3 months beforehand. That actually won me a podium. So this one personally hasn't won me anything, but really wanted to get that collection bonus on it, and I only had to pay about $10 to swap it. Araujo's been pretty good this year. Again, fits into that Benfica collection. So if you're looking at a really good weekend for them, you can use him and Trubin together. Flamingo, I think, is a must-have U23 defender. Even when Buscagli leaves, I mean, he's essentially a mini Buscagli anyways. I mean, they dominate possession. You get so many final third passes, so many aerial duels won. Um, he's definitely one to watch out for moving forward. If I mean, he is already, but I'm saying if you don't have him, Otamendi, I believe was part of at least one, maybe two podium lineups. Um, he's been a great servant for the club. Fits the Benfica stack. I just hope he ends up staying maybe another year. I don't think he will. He'll go back to Argentina eventually. Then we have a level 20 to Kuiper, who I don't think I've really won a ton with. Um, but I love the 2020 design. It's one of the OG designs and one of the better U23 not keepers defenders on the platform. So we got to have him. Waiting for a big move for Silva, or at least any move at this point. I just want to get him playing again. Zeno finds himself on the bench under the new coach, so that kind of stinks. But when he plays, he's great. Um, for a defender, he looks to make a lot of killer passes or passes into that final third. So he's great for the matrix. We crafted Ba, so he just kind of stays because he fits into that Benfica stack. And then down here we just really have a lot of fodder. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Wendell though. Hopefully he can make a move that gets him some time. And then move on to the midfielders. We got Tillman, who fits in that PSV stack. I think he's gone after this year, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. We'll just kind of enjoy what time we have left with him in Challenger. Mainly, we use him in U23 though. Just brought in Stukers, who I believe on the first game week that we had him dropped like a 79, so that's pretty cool. Ideally, you get the forward here, but I find it so hard to find Challenger mids that I'm willing to take like a 3-4 on average bump or drop off rather to get Stukers as a mid. And Fabio Vieira, who's kind of been kicked out of that Porto side for whatever reason. I think it was missing training, but I kind of lucked into that. He's in the Arsenal stack anyways, but would be nice if he get back into that Porto side because he was finding some decent form. Kokchu fits in that Benfica side. Hasn't been too great this year. In the tougher matchups, ironically, he does pretty well, but just really hard to predict when he's going to do anything. Hopefully, Pochi comes back soon. Definitely need his quality. Um, Two collection pieces here. Definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with Veerman. I know he's kind of struggling to get back into that side, but it's just been a nightmare for him since the Euro, and he got injured for PSV. But I think he was part of the podium-winning lineup where we got Trubin. When he plays, he's great, but it's just a matter of Bosch playing him at this point. So I really I don't know where to go with that one if we're being totally honest. Um, and then I know, hold on, yeah, because I know I have some Super League. I know I have Turkey. Um, I know I have Turkish forwards. So here we go. We got Big Vic, club legend, goes without saying. He's been the best challenger forward by far. Oshiman, I bought him just because I was struggling for challenger forwards. I recognize he's probably not staying there too long. He's probably destined for. I know the move to Chelsea collapsed, then a move to Saudi collapsed. So I don't. I think if he didn't go Saudi this past summer, he won't. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes after this loan spell. And Nezri's finally finding some form for Fenner. They spent like 20 million on him, so you figured he was going to find form eventually. Tadic for Fenner. Um, Hopefully he stays another year. I think he will. He might even have another year on his deal. Very feast or famine, but you need those peaks to compete in Challenger. If you're not lining up the PSV boys, I mean I am, but it's just a matter of I need another guy who can peak. Vito, since he came back, started off super hot, kind of leveled off, so hopefully he can find some form for NEC. Then you have Pepe and Beyond. Just recently, it's been so hard to predict which one's gonna play. So um, they're both in because they're part of the collection, but it's just really hard to line one of them up because so often it's 70-30, and I'm just really risk averse. So hopefully there's some clarity on that soon. Pepe's probably the guy moving forward. I know they want to sign him to a long term deal, but De Jong's club captain and a club legend for PSV, that is. So we'll see what they end up doing there. Pepe actually was on a U23 podium team that ended up winning Musiala, so he's already paid off. But it'd just be nice if we can consistently get him some games. And then we have Semi here. Bought him during the offseason. I know there was a lot more hype around him, but since they brought in Chiro, and there's one more player that I can't remember his name that they're kind of playing over him. So he's 17 years old. I know he's rated super highly, and when he starts, he plays pretty well. So we'll see. Plenty of time for him to return that price tag. So I'm not too worried about it. But that's it for the MLS and Challenger portion. We'll come back maybe tomorrow. We'll do a U23 portion, and we'll take a look and see some of the past lineups and some of the bigger moments of the gallery, just so we can get you guys caught up to speed on kind of the lore of Chi-Town Sports Cards FC. But appreciate you guys watching. If you don't mind, just leave a like and a comment if whether it's good or bad feedback. I truly appreciate anything that you guys have to say. Like I said, good or bad. Just I enjoy the platform. I enjoy fantasy sports. I enjoy football. Um, it's more of a passion project for me. So I want you guys to enjoy it as much as I enjoy creating this stuff. So um, good luck the rest of this game week. Good luck the upcoming week. And thanks, guys.